All right, we're on.
We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is a Tuesday when you're listening to this. We're recording it Monday night. It's been a fucking shit show. My regular Zoom doesn't work. We tried to do something on Substack that didn't work. Tony's on with us tonight, so I'm doing a Zoom on my tablet, which I don't like fucking doing. So I got a bit of an attitude today, Tony. How you doing?
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm fine. Mike and I talked. You missed the behind the scenes of Mike being mad, and I gotta say, it's pretty. It's it's amusing when us old guys get mad over a tech. I was showing Mike that I broke my thumb a couple weeks ago. Where, if you don't know, I run Aiken Saber Academy, and we were testing out a foam axe between me and another instructor, and I was wearing the wrong gloves, so I'm sitting here with a splint on it. But other than that, I'm okay. I've been paying attention to, politics as always, and I'm up, I'm down, just like everybody else in the country.
Well, as a couple of older guys, I think that puts us in a position to talk to somebody yet even older and less healthy. Donald Trump, there's a lot of things going on about that. Is he alive? Is he dead? Uh, is he incapacitated? There's something got to be going on because Donald Trump isn't usually not out in front of the cameras for this period of time. And there's some weird things going on around the White House. What are your thoughts about what's happening there now, knowing what we know about his physical
Yeah. So I
condition?
have I have two thoughts. Number one, I don't think he's dead. I think he's real sick but conscious. So if he's conscious, he's not going to let JD Vance take over. He's not going to move the power of the presidency to his vice president. So that's number one. But I do think that he's had some kind of issue. The pictures that they've been showing, if to be believed, he looked awful. Press
Yeah.
conference he did a few days ago, he looked terrible there. Little thoughts about him going to heaven that he's expressed lately. So yeah, I think he's got some problems. Maybe he's got heart issues, but I do think. And then my second theory would be, yeah, he looks bad, but what are we all talking about right now? We're not talking about the Epstein files. We're not talking about immigration. We're not talking about anything but whether he's alive or dead or healthy. So
You know,
is this a planned thing? How healthy is he? Could he be seen? It's working, in my view, it's working in his kind of working in his favor.
I don't know. To suggest that this might be some planned strategy by Donald Trump would suggest that Donald Trump has any intellect at all, and I refuse to do that. He doesn't look good. If this is a ruse, it's a pretty elaborate one and far beyond anything we've seen for Donald Trump or anybody around him. I think he's genuinely sick. I don't know to what extent, but you mentioned something about the Epstein files. We're not talking about that. You do understand this week's going to change everything when it comes to the Epstein files because
Tomorrow, right?
Congress is back in session tomorrow, or Tuesday, which is when people are listening to that. The whole subject of Epstein is going to come back up. They're going to try to pass a bill to get the evidence from Pam Bondi and the DOJ. But more importantly than that, on Wednesday, there's going to be a press event with Ro Khanna and I think Massey,
That's
um,
right. That's right.
and they're going to have the victims testify on the Capitol steps. And I think this is very important. Of all this stuff going on, nobody on the Republican side wants to talk to the victims. Wednesday, we'll be able to hear from the victims, and this may change a lot of things in terms of people's attitudes about what's going on there.
Well, I think it's going to, for sure, it's going to dominate the news cycle a week, give or take. I mean, I don't know what else could knock it out. If you're listening to victims, and as I understand it, there's going to be 10 of them there.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what else Donald Trump could pull short of dying that would eclipse that. I mean, yeah, at that point he'll probably send people into Chicago. He might send the National Guard somewhere else, maybe into Baltimore, but that's not going to be enough. That's kind of old news now, and they may share the spotlight, but I think people are going to be fascinated, and I think they're going to be tuned in. I haven't heard whether that is going to be on C-SPAN or not. It's a presser on the Capitol steps. I hope the weather is good and I hope it's carried live. I know I'll be watching.
Well, I think you can almost guarantee that it's going to be carried live. That's some pretty salacious shit, and that's what the media enjoys. So I suspect it will be covered, and a lot of information will come out that some of us know and others just don't want to hear. But they're going to be confronted with these victims, their faces, and they're taking a lot of courage to stand up and do this
They are.
because they could get some potential heat from the Trumplafucks who don't want to believe the truth. So I give these women a lot of respect for the courage that they're going to be showing on Wednesday. Now, there's something else coming up this week too regarding the Epstein files. You remember the story where they talked about Donald Trump writing a birthday card and it was put in a book, right?
That's right.
Donald
That's
Trump
right.
said it's a hoax. That's not me. I don't draw pictures. I don't do all that shit. Well, the thing about it is, Lawrence O'Donnell had somebody on his show, and I can't remember who it was, but they said, the Epstein estate probably has that book, and they'd probably give it to you if you asked for it. So we got all excited about it at that point. But this week, Congress, the Democrats in Congress, are going to get a copy of that book from the Epstein estate, not to mention some other documents. We don't even know what that's about, but that's going to stir some shit up. If Donald Trump isn't dead yet, this may fucking kill him.
Well, I think the victims will have a bigger play, but the combination of the two events happening at the same time is certainly gonna be a big deal for the media. I think the only thing I'm waiting to hear from the victims, if any one of them had any exposure to Donald Trump. We already know that Epstein is a piece of shit, but if there's no connection somehow with Trump, I'm not sure what happens. Yeah, and Maxwell is a complete fraud and a liar. So her testimony to the attorney is not going to mean doesn't mean a thing. But if the victims come out and say, yes, we were here and Donald Trump was at this party and this happened to me while Trump was there, that'll, especially if there's two or three of them that say that, I think that's going to be world shattering. But if not a single one of them ties Trump to Epstein somehow, I don't know where we go from here other than Epstein was a monster. And Maxwell at that point, she's got the secrets. So hopefully at that point she says she opens up her mouth a little bit. She's already talking about if that there are members of Trump's cabinet that were involved in some of the Epstein shenanigans. There's some talk about Bill Clinton, which frankly I totally believe is plausible that Clinton was involved somehow. But yeah, I've yet to hear a solid piece of anything other than one gal who said that Trump raped her when she was 13 or 14, and she's completely disappeared off the media landscape.
Yeah, she's no doubt been threatened or whatever, or who knows what happened to her. That's something we should dig into. I don't know if she's going to be a part of this 10 victim performance or this event. Now, I will say this, Tony. You mentioned if Donald Trump isn't mentioned, no big deal, and I disagree with you because the Trumplafucks want to know what's in the Epstein files. And prior to the election, even though we knew Donald Trump was tied to it, they didn't know or didn't care whether Donald Trump was in it or not. That wasn't their goal for getting the Epstein files. So whether one of these women mentions Donald Trump or not, that doesn't change anything about having to release the Epstein files or the desire to see the Epstein files. For Epstein and Donald Trump to be best friends for 10 years, um, and some of the things that have gone on between them. I'd be surprised if his name doesn't come up, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they just didn't give all the names. They just told the stories because they're at risk of potentially getting sued or whatever. I don't know how this is all going to play out, but I think people make the mistake that unless Donald Trump is tied to this, it means nothing. And I disagree with that. It's still going to be a fucking mess because there's a lot of people involved. I mean, you think about it, we got two traffickers that were arrested and convicted, two traffickers, but you can't have traffickers unless you traffic them to somebody who also commits crimes, whether it's Donald Trump or Bill Clinton or whoever the fuck, it doesn't matter. That's what people want to know.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're absolutely right. I mean, MAGA thinks that it's mostly Democrats involved in this, but the reality is, there's a host of powerful, I'm going to say, men that whose names have not been exposed and not seen the light of day. So I think that's critically important. And if yeah, I'd be a little disappointed if Trump's name is not mentioned on Wednesday, but his name is mentioned all throughout the files from everything we're hearing. A lot of that is being blacked over by the FBI. As far as I'm concerned, I think the FBI's got all sorts of evidence and tapes and things that they've recovered. So there's public. Even though Maxwell says there aren't any tapes, I don't buy that one bit. I can't think of the gentleman's name. I think he was. He said he interviewed Epstein. He saw pictures. He saw video evidence. That stuff's all disappeared, and it disappeared when the FBI raided Epstein's premises. So was that stuff been destroyed? I don't know. I hope not,
Well, that's a,
but that's all part of
I
the
hope,
files.
I hope not too. But you know, the one thing we were told that there were terabytes and terabytes of video. If they all disappeared, that's bigger than a wolf's. That's a cover up, and that would cause some other complete investigation. We know there's video because the FBI said there was video. Now, if they just misplaced it now all of a sudden, that certainly seems a little suspicious. And I think a lot of people on the Republican side are getting suspicious of Donald Trump and Pam Bondi for not wanting to release it. They want the grand jury, they want the Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, they've got all the evidence on their fucking desk. They don't need a court order to release it. They could just do it. So the question is, why don't they do it? You know, as I'm looking at Donald Trump, everybody's worried, will Donald Trump get caught for this? Donald Trump get caught for that? And for all these years, we've been worried about when is he going to be accountable? And the fact of the matter is, I don't know that that matters anymore because apparently God is going to make him accountable one way or another. Either he's going to be sick and lingering or he dies. Or I can't believe this is all a hoax because Donald Trump can't pull that shit off. He can't help but speaking out and coming back. But I will tell you the most damaging thing for MAGA at this point is something we're seeing right now. That is the quiet we're hearing out of Donald Trump, because the only way MAGA can get around some of these problems, got a problem over here. Donald Trump screams and said, "Hey, look over here, look over here." We forget about that. We go there, and he keeps juggling these balls and keeps that going. Once the juggling stops, all falls down on top of him. All the things that he's fought against and could speak out against and do whatever he does. When he's quiet, that spells trouble for MAGA. Doesn't matter if it spells trouble for Donald. Donald may not be long for this world, but him not keeping the balls in the air is going to be a problem for MAGA at this point and the Republicans as general.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with you. It's this quiet right now is fodder for all sorts of conspiracy theories. It leaves a space for the Democrats to take a breath and cause some kind of movement in some ways. So Wednesday is what I would call movement, right? Smart.
Yeah.
Bring these in. Massey is a Trump hater. For a Republican, he's a brave guy, but he's not running for reelection. And Brohana, good on him. He's one of the
Yeah.
good guys. This is an incredible opportunity. We wouldn't have got this from Chuck Schumer or anybody else that's up there. So
No, of
this is a
course not.
fight back. But the longer he lingers in quiet, like you said, there's more opportunity for the Democrats to move into that space. The Republicans are coming back from vacation. For those that were brave enough to hold town halls, it didn't look good. It didn't look good at all. Susan,
No, no.
yeah, right, so. this quiet doesn't provide cover for them either. I mean, they're coming back off of this, and now they're going, well, what's going on? You know, now their own people are who are normal conspiracy theory people are saying, what the hell's going on here? So they're getting pressure
Well,
from both sides.
yeah, and where the karma comes in, the Republicans or the Trump-fucks that stood with Donald Trump committed these crimes, created this corruption, done all these horrible things. Donald Trump's always been the focal point. How is Donald Trump going to become accountable? If all of a sudden Donald Trump is no longer there to create the cover, all this stuff is coming to the surface. And as more and more people want to walk back away from it, as more information comes out, they're going to have to hold somebody accountable. And they're going to hold people in the cabinet accountable. They're going to hold members of Congress accountable for some of the things. They're going to hold Elon Musk accountable, Marco Rubio. Donald Trump is a linchpin. And if he no longer exists, the world falls apart for the Republican Party because they got no cover. They got no strength. There's nobody to take over for Donald Trump. And if you think JD Vance is going to pick up where Donald Trump left off, you're kidding yourself.
Yeah,
He's too
JD
fucking
Vance
weak.
is he is weak. He's just another slimy, low personality kind of person. He's uncomfortable around people. He makes people uncomfortable by being in their presence. Nobody really
A little
particularly
creepy.
likes him. Yeah, he's creepy, and so yeah, he's not the mantle of the Republican Party. So yeah, they're gonna have a without Donald Trump, things fall apart. Now they still have the Heritage Foundation and all the wealthy people there, they'll spin off to some other way of keeping their momentum. They've pretty much got a lot of what they wanted under this administration. So they're not gone. There's a lot of power and a lot of money there. And that money may switch over parties and the centrists in the Democratic Party will then become inert as they've been for a long time now. But yeah, the Republicans, if Trump dies, and I hope he dies soon, that assures us of having elections in 26, the midterms, which then means probably it's going to be is probably going to be a really big Democratic majority in the House. It has the potential of the Democrats also winning in the Senate, judging by the mood of the country right now. And the investigations will come and stuff will spin out of this. And with any luck, the Pam Bondis, the Peter Hegzags, all of the Steve Millers, all of them, the fall of ICE, with any luck, will be defunded. We will see we will see a reckoning happen. So we're all holding, and we really need the 26 elections to do that. We need to keep the pressure on. We're a year out, and we need those elections. As I understand it, he's probably going to use ICE to do intimidation factors during that, where you'll have ICE outside of polling places. I don't think that's going to stop folks from voting at all. To be honest with you,
No,
it's just going to piss them
that's
off even more.
that's assuming he lives that long, and I doubt that he will. From what I'm seeing, I mean, there's a lot of crazy shit going on. I don't know if you saw online. There was a report there were helicopters going out of there. There was a report that there was a motorcade with an
With
ambulance going
ambulance, yeah.
to the hospital. I don't know. Did you even see that video? This is the weird one. I don't know what's up with this, but there was a video of the White House, just a standard static video. And then at one point in a window, it was supposed to be the Lincoln bedroom sitting room. Somebody threw some shit out the window. That's a fucking White House. It looked
That's
like a
probably Melania.
garbage
That's probably Melania throwing shit out the
no
window.
shit.
She's pissed. No, I don't. I think he's sick. I think he's ill. I think he's in bed. I think he's conscious though. I almost think that if he was in a coma, if he wasn't incapacitated in somehow, I do think that that word would have reached us and they would be transferring power over. So that's why I don't think I think he's ill, but I think he's still conscious of what he's and deciding for whatever. Now his mental state, even when he's just walking around, I mean, his mental ability has been very diminished. His dementia is on full tilt, but
Right.
I don't think he's there yet. I think he's really sick, and I think he's in a hospital bed in the White House, or maybe at a hospital, at or on a base someplace. But I think he's still in control of the country at this point because they have not shifted over to JD Vance. Now, I think JD Vance is salivating over the opportunity to take over, but that that's not going to help the administration one bit because he's despised.
Now they keep saying that they're going to send the National Guard and such into Chicago, and again, largely has to do with distraction because there is no need for it. He's got a little problem here that he didn't have in Washington D.C. He's got a governor in Pritzker who's pretty strong, said don't come here. He's got a mayor in Chicago that's pretty strong and says don't come here. I don't know what exactly they can do to stop them, but they did say if there's any crimes committed, they will be arrested and prosecuted like anybody else. You can't kidnap people off the street. You can't do a lot of things. So this could potentially be quite a mess in Chicago over and above the people in Chicago. They're not known for laying down and let people doing anything to them. They'll fucking fight back. So this whole thing could turn into quite a shit show.
Yeah, I mean, the National Guard, he'll take National Guard from other states and send them to Chicago. They'll walk around in the tourist areas like they did in Washington, D.C. Um, Pritzker may activate his own National Guard as a counter
He should.
surveil, as a counter surveillance. And the two sides will, the average soldier on both sides, they'll shake hands and they'll just wander around. Now, ICE is a totally different thing. I'm not sure you would order like the local police to stop ICE physically from kidnapping people off the street. I don't think you can do that. But I think you can order the local police to give them absolutely no support, no buildings, no vehicles, ticket them, if they park their vehicles illegal, have a tow truck come in and take and take that thing away. I think there's things you can kind of do, but you don't want a confrontation between local and federal enforcement vehicles. So I think there's not much you can do with ICE. You can order, I don't know, U-Haul places not to rent them trucks. You know,
Yeah.
you can do things like that and just make it difficult for them to operate. If they have, you don't have to. If they're in a building somewhere or a hotel someplace, make their lives miserable like they did, I think, in D.C., where they were in a hotel and protesters showed up. If they're in a federal building, well, it would be nice if the air conditioning or or the heating sort of stopped, or if there was a plumbing problem. You know, I mean, things that unions used to do can still be done.
Think about what you said there in the first part of that comment. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying how fucked up this country is. You said, I don't think the police can really do much if they're out there kidnapping people off the street. Well, if there was ever a time then police should do something, is when people are being kidnapped. Granted, we're talking about a federal an arm of the federal government, so it does make it a little less uh, easy to decide to do. But people are kidnapping people off our streets, and our police can't do anything about it. How fucked up is that?
It's totally fucked up, and I don't understand how MAGA, who's worried about Clinton and worried about Obama and the jackbooted, thugs, looks at this and say, "Well, this is okay." Look, this there's still the average Republican, just the regular Mitt Romney Republicans. They're still out there. They don't have to be, no Trump ever Republicans. They're not liking this either. Yeah, and
I would hope
so
not.
what media has to do, and they've been poor at doing this, is national media has to cover them. Fox won't, but every other network should be covering this stuff, and showing it on television. The information will get to voters. He's already very, very unpopular. I heard something today, and this is just, is we have a relative, big Trump supporter, very Christian man, she thinks, a Trump supporter. She's mad because she thinks one of her friends in her church, who is either an illegal or here on a green card, got picked up by ICE in Tennessee.
It
And
happens.
this is somebody who was Trump do or die, and she's upset. Now, my wife tries to talk to this, but you can't. They're not self-aware enough to say what the way we say it, but they're visibly upset by what's going on in this country. And therefore, you look at his poll numbers are shit. I don't, if I was a standard Republican running for office, I don't know why you need to support somebody with a 30% approval rating. Yeah, you know what I mean? Why would you be afraid of them? I just don't, they're just so cowardly.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Let me ask you this. If what we hear is true about Donald Trump being incapacitated, maybe even dead, what does that do to all of these things that he had planned, like the invading of Chicago? I think it pretty much puts a hold on everything.
I
Nobody's
agree
going to
with you.
want to take responsibility
I agree
for
with you.
doing the stupid shit if Donald
Yeah,
Trump isn't
I
there
agree.
anymore.
If JD
Capable.
Vance was in charge, he's a chameleon. He goes where the wind goes. So he became a Catholic when he needed to be a Catholic. He became a MAGA when he needed to be a MAGA. He doesn't want his career to end, and that's a career ender. Backing Stephen Miller and the rest of the incompetent boobs that are in the cabinet. I think if Trump was in a coma or if Trump was completely out of the picture, I think a lot of things would change because he doesn't want his career, and frankly, he doesn't want to be the guy that's going to, get, because he would be impeached. You can still impeach somebody. You may not be able to,
Well,
remove him from office, but you could. Does Vance want to go down in history to be impeached? I'm pretty confident that if the Dems take over the House of Representatives, we're going to see Trump impeached again. There'll be a third impeachment on him.
yeah, there'll be a third impeachment. The thing is I wonder if I threw this theory out there. Something happens to Donald Trump, he can no longer serve. He's either dead or incapacitated. J.D. Vance becomes president of the United States. Uh, Most Republicans don't like J.D. Vance. The tech bros like him, but most Republicans don't. Most Republicans in Congress know he's a dip fuck, so they may not want him in there. A strategy for them might be, okay, Donald Trump's gone. We've got to get some kind of redemption going in with the Republican Party. We can't continue to be these crazy motherfuckers. So we got to do something different. So what if Donald Trump's gone? JD Vance is president now, and now he's got to pick a vice president. And the Republicans force him to pick who they want as opposed to who he wants. You can't pick Elon Musk because Elon Musk isn't a citizen. You can't pick Peter Thiel because Peter Thiel's not born here, and neither is Elon Musk. You've got to pick somebody. And what if the Republicans said, let's settle things down and try to get back to normal here? Why don't we see, since he's not running for the Senate, how about Brian Kemp from Georgia? He's more normal than most Republicans. He's pushed back against Donald Trump. Let's make him VP. And then once he's VP, they fucking the Republicans themselves impeach JD Vance. Sounds a little
Yeah,
out there, but think of all the
no,
stuff that's been
no,
going on.
no.
There's a lot
I,
out there shit.
I think Kemp would be the pick. They would pick him over DeSantis or Abbott. Um, first thing would go away would be the fucking tariffs, which are almost gone anyway. Um,
Yeah.
but also the immigration thing, they would just say we won and call it a day. There's no immigration over the border. We removed so many criminals from the country, so they're gonna take the win. Kemp's a good choice. I don't particularly like him, but he's a good solid choice to be the VP. And Kemp wants to be president someday. Yeah, they all do.
Well,
So this would be a great ticket for him. He's not going to pick like a crazy Republican.
well, the Republicans won't allow it. They've just gotten out of crazy if Donald Trump is no longer
Right,
available. And
right.
so,
I,
so it could be a setup. I mean, it all sounds crazy. It all sounds conspiratorial. But after we've watched what's gone on the last 7 or 8 months, anything's fucking unbelievable.
yeah, there's nothing. I mean, we've been living in a bizarro world since he took office. I mean, it's just everything's upside down. Everything is crazy. It's scary times, and you hear people say, "Well, don't be scared." Well, no, we should be scared. He's funding his own militia in ICE. He's got a lot of those people bought into him politically. Yeah, we should be
Yeah.
scared, and he's using them to tamp down dissent. He's creating special teams to tamp down protests. Those aren't for Black Lives Matter protests. Those are for protests, just regular Democrats protesting. Like an all-woman march. You can see special forces, National Guards designed to then break up all women marches. You can see that coming. So will Vance do that? No, I think Vance, when he comes in, I think he'll clean up the cabinet. I don't think Vance would have picked those people that are in office right now. He might keep Patel, but I think he would get rid of Bondi. I think he would get rid of Hegseth. I think he would get rid of some of the others that are in there and form his own cabinet. But this is all surmisal because Trump is still alive, and there's nothing that says he won't last out another year. As much as we want him different, until proven otherwise, it's still his administration, and I want him gone just as much as anybody else. But that's not how you have to operate. You have to operate on the worst case scenarios. I mean, in the worst case scenarios, he's still alive and he's still in charge, and everything is still going on the way he wants it to go on. I mean, and he's a tool, but let's just hope. Let's just hope that if he's incapacitated, that is something really serious that takes him out of the picture because we don't want him involved. As bad as things are here, we also don't want him involved in foreign affairs. Yeah, he has fucked us royally, and right now we have to wait for the Supreme Court on tariffs. But you know, hopefully they'll support the fact that Congress is in charge of tariffs and not him.
Well, hopefully that's the case. We don't know really what to expect with the Supreme Court these days. They are as corrupt as the Republican Party and as the Trump administration. We can only hope that they stick with the Constitution and rule of law, but there's no reason to absolutely believe that they would do that. The thing about it is when we talk about whether Trump is dead, whether he's incapacitated or he's alive, you're absolutely right. When you're analyzing something, you have to look at it from all angles and decide what you're going to do in each one of those situations. Even if Donald Trump is alive, he's got a lot of problems working against him. The whole tariff thing has worked against him. The trying to deport people without due process, he lost a court case there. Everything's starting to pile up on Donald Trump. And if not physically, emotionally, this is going to start taking its toll because he's a narcissist. He always wins. You just ask him. But now that he's just losing, it's all going to become more difficult to navigate because narcissists love to control everything. And he's no longer able to control anything, even if he's in the peak of health.
Yeah, I mean, his meeting with Putin didn't even come close to what he was attempting to do. His bid for the Nobel Peace Prize, as well, it's always been dead in the water, but it's really dead in the water now. And so, from me as former military, they're sending over like 13,000 missiles over to Ukraine. They're supposed to leave here in the next week or so. That
Right.
that that I don't know. And now supposedly Hegseth, that jerk, has said they can't use those missiles to strike into Ukraine. But the fact that those missiles are going over there, that's a sign of sanity. That and so that's a good thing. So and you're right. Everything else is starting to crumble as they run into the courts, and the courts are starting to act. Um, Still a lot of bad things going on, but it definitely seems like the momentum is shifting slightly. As his approval ratings go down, you see some Republicans maybe starting to think, well, maybe we need to get out of this leaking ship and hit the lifeboats. I think we're going to see more of that. The elections are coming, and I firmly believe it's going to be a giant blue wave that will knock him on his ass. To be honest, he's out there saying, "No, we're going to win." I don't see how we're going to win. There's nothing that I see that should give him that indication. But he's a narcissist, like you said.
Well, and when we see these special elections going Democrat when they should go Republican, when we see people like Joni Ernst not deciding not to run, even though she won pretty handily last time she was elected. There is a trend going on there, and I think Republicans are getting a sense. You want to hear a weird conspiracy theory that I saw on TikTok?
Oh, sure.
Now, now I'll grant you, I can't believe shit that you hear on TikTok. I said, I always tell people, don't believe anybody. Listen to what you listen to. If it strikes a chord with you, go investigate it for yourself. Look for sources of that information. Now,
That's
this
right.
has no source of information, but because we know Vladimir Putin and because we know Donald Trump, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It sounds pretty crazy. Think about this. When did Donald Trump's deterioration start? When did it really start to go downhill?
Right after the Alaska meeting.
Exactly. About 2 weeks ago, right?
Right, right.
Now, Vladimir Putin is not giving in to Donald Trump, and this is pissing off Donald Trump. And no doubt they may have butted heads. Now, what do we know about Vladimir Putin? He has a lot of people that go against him that, well, I don't know, fall out of windows or die of mysterious
Oh yeah.
poisoning,
Lots of
a
purges.
del and a delayed poisoning at that. You know, the guy he poisoned that was his competitor. It took a couple of weeks before to really to take hold. This sounds crazy, but this world is fucking crazy right now. If Vladimir Putin thought he could handle JD Vance better than Donald Trump, because Donald Trump cannot be handled. He's stupid, he's easily manipulated, but he's also a wild card that will do anything at any time. Get pissed, give Ukraine a bunch of missiles and say bomb the piss out of them. And Donald Trump did suggest to Ukraine that you really need to bomb deeper inside Russia.
He
You don't
did.
think Vladimir heard that? This all sounds crazy, but when the history books are written and we're listening to documentaries 10 years from now, the shit we will hear will probably be absolutely fucking nuts.
No, you're right. I mean, if the thought was that somehow they poisoned Donald Trump in Alaska, it's a fun conspiracy theory. But he was
It's fun.
already, yeah, he was already falling apart when he went up there. When he was walking down the carpet, he was dragging his leg. He was moving in a zigzag pattern on that red carpet. So the stress of all this, I think the stress from that meeting where he looked like a fool. I think enough information got to him that said you look like a fool. Because normally his toadies don't say that. His cabinet is going to tell him he's the greatest thing ever, greatest president.
Right.
But I think he watches enough television that he understood that meeting did not go well, and it stressed him out. And Putin made him look stupid. So no, I think the stress of the meeting and the results of the meeting were more detrimental to him than him being somehow subtly poisoned. And I really don't think JD Vance would be better for Russia than Trump. I mean, all Putin has to do right now is call Trump up on the phone and say, look, we got some things to talk about. I'm so sorry about what happened in Alaska. Why don't we meet in, I don't know, pick a place, in India. Let's go talk about it again. And we'll have some drinks. We'll do some stuff. Trump would be on a plane tomorrow. I mean, he just would.
Yeah. Yeah. If he could, if he's capable, if he's
Right,
ambulatory.
right.
Um, and you're right. You know, when you see these conspiracy theories, they might make sense to a certain degree, but you got to be discerning about these things and what's realistic. Now,
Right.
Vladimir Putin is a smart guy. And even if it was Donald Trump, it was ever to find out that Vladimir Putin or the Russians did something to a sitting president, even Donald Trump, that's war. That's just
Yeah.
fucking war.
I more
And
believe JD Vance poisoned him, to be honest with you. I mean, if you told me Putin gave JD Vance something to put in Donald Trump's orange juice, I'm more likely to believe that because Vance is as big a snake as you can get.
yeah, he is a slimy motherfucker. There's no question about it. He, I mean, I don't trust Donald Trump, but Donald Trump has one thing going for him. He's the kind of guy that will rob you right in front of your face.
He does. He does. He
JD
does.
Vance, I mean, you know exactly who Donald Trump is when you talk to him.
Yeah.
JD Vance is slippery. He's
Yeah.
slimy. He's under the radar. he will try to fuck you. And really, I know he went to a big college, and I know he supposedly wrote a book, but he doesn't come off as a very bright guy. And I don't know if that's
Uh,
because he's trying to be smart and also uh, a sycophant to Donald Trump that he can't say certain things, or he's just dumb. And when I
no,
say dumb,
he's
I don't mean academically. I mean he doesn't know how to talk in front of a crowd and what to say and what not to say without looking stupid, because he always looks stupid.
he's Mike Pence without a personality. So I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about that, that's pretty bad. Yeah, but I mean, he is a smart guy. I mean, and like a lot of Republicans, he knows how to bullshit when he needs to bullshit. I just think if he took charge, however he took charge, a lot of things would be totally different. The cabinet would be totally different. The direction of the country would be different. I don't know that he would support Ukraine. But Rubio would probably tell him, and the Republicans that are in the Senate would probably kind of force him to support Ukraine. I think we're not. I think ICE would be diminished as far as their capacity and ability to do what they're doing, and I think the tariffs would be the first thing to go. You know, the wealthy got what they wanted. They got the big tax break. They got the lack of regulation. They got a change in from EVs to back to oil and gas and coal. You know, they got what they wanted. They got that was a big push. Now the social conservatives, they're still working on it. You know, to ban prostitution, to get rid of trans people, to get all brown people out of here, to diminish the Democratic vote. And frankly, if we're up to them, they're the ones who are pushing a lack of, get away from a democracy and more towards a
Right.
theocratic, republic where they're in charge and there's only one party. They're the real dangerous ones, and they're still going to be active. Trump or no Trump. Trump was their tool, and they're still out there. So the oligarchy, which is, different segments, some are in it for the money, some are in it for social change. They're still there. They're still dangerous, and they're not going to go away. And they know how to do propaganda. So, but I think there's some things that have really they need voters to do what they're going to do. And right now, the voters are really pissed. Prices haven't gone down. Their lives are certainly worse off since Trump took charge. And then they're seeing all the chaos and the turmoil that's out there in society and the unfairness. And they're just not happy, be it
Yeah.
standard Republicans or Democrats or independents.
Well, that's the thing. All the things that Donald Trump is doing is working negatively against this country and the people in this country. Donald Trump may not understand it, may not care, but all the people around him understand that, but they're afraid of him, so they continue to do his bidding. You have to wonder if he becomes incapacitated, weaker in some way, or he dies. Does that change how people are talking in Congress? Do they actively try to stop this tariff thing, knowing that it's going to be disastrous? And if they don't stop it, Donald Trump won't be around to take the heat. They will take the heat. And then you have to wonder if the question of the tariffs gets to the Supreme Court after the demise of Donald Trump, say, does that change how they're going to respond to it? I would have to think they would. It would be different.
I mean, if you look at the town halls, now I don't know if those were mostly Democrats at these things or mixtures, but I mean, some of these were in deep red states, and they were saying,
Right.
You've added trillions of dollars to our debt, and you gave that money to billionaires. You've taken people that we know and taken away their health care. These were people who voted for them, and they understood. So yeah, they are not happy, and the Republicans are going to get the blame if Trump's not here to shield them. I think they'll change course pretty quickly. I think right now the government is supposed to shut down 30 days from now.
End of
To
September, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to need Democratic votes to push forward a budget, and I bet you they put more money back into Medicaid. There'll be some bartering back and forth. The Democrats will want something for their votes, and be probably money towards Medicaid. So I think we'll see some of that clawed back. But the Democrats ought to hold strong for some bigger changes than just some pennies on the dollar towards health care for poor people. They need to do better than that. And I don't know that our current Democratic leaders would fight that hard.
Yeah, that's a good point. But don't you think if we get down to the point where the budget has to be decided on and they need help from the Democrats and they have to negotiate, don't you think that depends on if Trump is a factor or not?
Absolutely depends. Trump will close the government down in a heartbeat.
Yeah, you won't think twice about it.
He don't care, and he doesn't care how long. He won't even care if he's getting the blame for it, But if Social
No.
Security checks stop going out, and if the government is closed down for a length of time, and the voters get impacted, they're going to remember this a year from now, and it'll be a lot more than a blue wave. It'll be more like a blue tsunami across both
Yeah.
houses, which is fine. At that point, maybe business can be done. Real business can be done.
Well, and the only way any business is going to get done, even if the Democrats win the House and the Senate, they're going to need to win the Senate big
Yeah, yeah,
because,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
because if Donald Trump is still president, even though the House and Senate pass these bills, no way he's ever going to sign it. So they can sit and pass bills all they want, but if Donald Trump isn't going to sign it, what's the point? I think the last 2 years, if Democrats get the House and the Senate, it's going to be a lot of hearings, a lot of investigations, a lot of exposing of the crimes and the corruption of the Republican Party, particularly Donald Trump. As long as Donald Trump is the president, nothing is going to get done. Nothing
I,
has gotten done, nothing will get done, regardless of who's in Congress.
yeah, I think the backroom deals will be we don't have enough to overcome a veto.
Right.
However, we do have enough on you, senator, and you, senator, and you, congressman, and you, and you, and you, that if we do these investigations, your career is over. So we need your votes on these bills to overcome a veto, and they'll push for some moderate bills that won't go far enough, but will be veto proof almost because they'll attract some Republicans and they'll attract some Democrats, and healthcare will be primarily the first thing that'll go through, and I think even Republicans understand that they went too far in cutting it. And they can say all they want that we only want people that should be eligible for this. They threw a lot of people off of healthcare, and they may have put it as to come after the midterms. Okay, you put it after the midterms, but it's gonna start impacting people after the midterms, and you'll get the blame for it. I think.
In 2028. The
Yeah,
midterms are one thing, but it will nail you in 2028. You can't escape from that. That's the weird thing about this. We've got people out there um, voting for the big, beautiful bill. And then afterwards, they're going, oh, that's a little too strong. We need to change that. All you had to do is not fucking vote for it. But they
that's all
didn't
right.
have the courage. They're
You know,
cowards.
that's right. And Suzanne Collins comes to mind. She's getting
Yeah.
blamed for the bill, and I think she voted against the bill, but she voted for the part before that advances the bill for the full vote. So she's done. They're yelling at her to do town halls. They're just yelling. They're done with Susan Collins. This fellow they got up there, the oyster guy. Um, and I want to move to Maine just to vote for him because he is everything I would want in a politician. He knows how to speak to regular folks. He comes from us. Yeah, he understands everything that's going on. He actually feels the pain of Mainers. So I think Collins is done. Um, what's his name in New York understands as well. Yeah, he's going to get elected as mayor. There's no doubt in my mind, no matter how much money billionaires put against him.
Yeah, I think people are tired of billionaires and people want something for themselves. They want somebody working for them. And I think this troubles the Republicans, certainly. But we got a lot of Democrats that aren't feeling this guy either. And they're making all these ridiculous claims. He's a communist, he's a socialist, he's going to make it so the government owns everything, which is all bullshit.
Oh,
And
bullshit.
it all kind of leads back to the whole funding from APAC, which is virtually everybody in Congress, not just Republicans, Democrats and Republicans. And they feel this obligation to APAC to vote against anybody who happens to be Muslim or anything like that. And this is going to be a good example when you got tons of money and tons of power, when the people just say, fuck it, we're doing it our way. And I think when that happens, that's going to be a message that's going to take hold with some of these Republicans and Democrats after that, because I want to see him win. I don't live in New York, so it doesn't impact me, but I want to see somebody young and somebody willing to work for the middle class and the poor class. And I think that could start an avalanche, dominoes, if you will.
Well, this whole thing with the centrist and neolibs in the Democratic Party, they need to be careful because young people are just going to stay the fuck home, and it'll
Yeah,
count in 28. I don't know who
yeah,
they'll run. Maybe they will run Brian Kemp. And if young people are fucking fed up, they are just done with, and you can see it in the polls numbers for the Democratic Party. It's better than the Republican Party, but not by much. And actually, I don't even think it's better than the Republican Party. We need a strong third party in this country. I don't know how we're ever going to get one, but frankly, I wish AOC and then a bunch of the Rohana and a bunch of the others would leave the Democratic Party and start a middle way party, something that would just be in the middle. Doesn't do anything to do with culture wars. It's just plain economics. Take on guns, take on fair taxes, tax the rich, economy, all middle way stuff. Everything that impacts the middle class on the right and on the left. I think there'd be a number of Democrats that would leave the party and go do that, and I think we'd even see some Republicans do the same thing.
yeah. Theoretically, that sounds like a good idea. A third party. A lot of people have said that, and it's never worked in the past.
No, not
These
has
are
it.
these are different times. I have a theory about politicians, and I think we've gotten beyond um, the partisanship because we're at a point now when it's not Democrats versus Republicans, it's wrong versus right, truth versus lies, and so forth. I think Democrats should learn a lesson from Donald Trump and from Gavin Newsom for that matter. This isn't about parties anymore. This is about personalities. This is like social media. This is about influencers. Who do I like? Who do I personally relate to? A lot of people didn't relate to Gavin Newsom, but when he stood up and fought and pushed back and mocked Donald Trump, they all of a sudden love this guy.
Yeah,
That's how it
yeah.
works in this world now. They want a champion. They want somebody who's going to be a fighter on the Democratic side. And if you are one of those people, they'll back you whether you're Democrat or Republican. Same thing with Donald Trump when he ran for president. He's not a Republican. He never was a conservative, but the Republicans grasped onto him because people resonated with him and liked him, regardless of whether he was Republican or not. So I think coming up in the next 2028 election, we're going to be looking for a personality, a brand, if you will. And that's who people will vote for. A lot of the people in the Democratic Party are like the Schumers and Hakeem Jeffries. They'll just continue to try to do what they can do. But it's the people like Gavin Newsom, maybe J.B. Pritzker, that step up and speak out and look like they're going to fight for the people that
Yeah.
nobody was fighting for decades. Those are the people that are going to have a chance. And they don't
I,
necessarily have to leave the party to do that.
I only see three governors, the two that you
Yeah.
mentioned, and Wes Moore from Maryland. That's it.
All right.
Three governors. I don't see a single AOC will never run for president. Pete Buttigieg, I like the guy, but he's a centrist. I don't want him. He's not fighting hard enough. And he'd make him a decent vice president, but I don't want.
Yeah.
I won't vote for him. So right now, Gavin Newsom has always come across as he kind of looks like a lawyerly used car salesman, but he's willing to fight and he's everywhere. And the same with Pritzker and the same with Wes Moore. I think if I had to pick between the three, I'd probably go with Wes Moore as my top. But any one of those three, as far as I'm concerned, will have my vote. And it'd be a shame to see them all on a stage tearing it into each other. I hope when the time
Yeah.
comes. There's talking about Kamala Harris running. She's done. She's finished. Nobody wants her back. She needs to. She needs to. She needs to stay out of there. And you and I have talked about this before. I hate to say this. We're not going to get a woman running for the Democrats in 28. It's just not going to happen. I
There's too
can't
much
think.
at stake. There's too much
Yeah,
at stake or at stake. And we saw what we saw on November 5th. It was either that she was black or that she was a woman. For me, I think it more had to do with her being a woman than her being a person of color. I may be
Yeah.
wrong by that. Now, you said Wes Moore would be your choice of those three. Why Wes Moore over Gavin Newsom and Pritzker?
I think he kind of is a solid guy, and he's personal. I watched him running with, I guess it was the state police and former military. I guess I just kind of identify with him. He's strong, he's physical, he's handsome, he's intelligent. I just think I think he would be a lot more solid and all that. Pritzker, I like, but he's a little, he's a kind of tubby billionaire, and I don't know that I want a billionaire in office, even though I like him. Um, I just don't know. And Gavin Newsom, listen, I'm okay with him too. I mean, he's a giant fighter. I just don't think that California is in that. It's in good shape. I don't think it's in that great a shape. Uh, you know, and he's been the steward there. And if it hadn't been for him being attacked by Trump and then him giving back, would we even be putting him in the mix? Yeah,
Yeah,
probably not. If he's our guy, then I'm all for it, and I'm going to support it. And if any one of those three is my guy, but if I had to take the one guy who comes across the strongest in character, the strongest in likability, the strongest in, I think, electability, I think it's, and the fact that he's black, that makes a big difference. Obama got elected, and
yeah.
white people voted for him, women voted for him. Handsome, strong guy, and I think Wes Moore is kind of in that same mode, but even better, to be honest. I mean, if I had to pick between Obama and Wes Moore, I think I would have picked Wes Moore. So um, that's my guy now. I mean, we got a long ways to go, and the midterms are more important than the presidential election in 28.
Well, the one thing Wes Moore has that the other two don't, and people are suggesting that that's going to be important in this 2028 election, is a military background. They're going to want somebody with that, and Wes Moore has the military background.
That's exactly right. It says a lot. He was an officer. It says a lot about his ability to understand how to use the military, how to approach national security. It's a balance act. We're in a dangerous world. Trump is leaving us in a bad place. I don't know if you saw that recent meeting in China. You got Putin, you got Modi from India, and then you got about 20 other leaders all showing up there. And that wouldn't have happened with a strong leader in the United States. And I'm not even
No.
talking about Biden, because I don't think Biden was particularly strong, but he had a really good administration behind him. But we are in a weak point, and we're going to need a stronger leader who has an understanding of national security. And I think he's ready to go, like, right now. To be honest with you, I think he'd be a great president, and he would certainly restore honor in the world. And the fact that he's a minority, I think it says a lot about this country to be able to elect a minority to the office of the presidency.
Do you think that after all we've gone through and the claims of racism with the Republican Party, I mean, some people have said that, well, Robert Reich said this, I brought this up before. When you're in a period of time where it's been way right and things have gone wrong, like during the Depression, we come out of that and then it seems to shift way left in order to kind of right the ship. Coming out of uh, the Depression, we had FDR and the New Deal and all that sort of stuff. A lot of people claimed he was a socialist at the time, but he got a lot of things passed. And you have to wonder if people aren't going to be ready for some changes after going through this nightmare that we've gone through for all this time. People will finally say, fuck it, we don't have Donald Trump to listen to anymore. We can just focus on what's going on with this country. I would hope that's the case, but unfortunately, my confidence in the intellect in this country isn't very high because we clearly have 49% of the country that voted for a 34-time convicted felon. You can't say much about their intelligence.
Yeah, the big difference between now and then is the billionaires are in charge of a lot of the media in this country, from podcasts up to television, local television stations, and of course Fox News and Newsmax and the rest of them. And so their control of the propaganda arm um, would be very difficult to overcome. Um, and so anybody coming into office, I'm more of a socialist than I am a Democrat at this point. I think we need more government intervention to oppose the gilded class in this country. We're not going to get that because the gilded class will find some shiny thing to anger the MAGA people and the people on the right. And they've been doing it. It was guns before, and this time it
Yeah,
was transvestites and immigrants.
right.
So immigrants are still here. Transvestites, they can still blow up well out of proportion to their numbers. They'll come up with something. They just will. They've got the think tanks, they've got the money on their side, and they've got control of a big segment of our media. The first thing I would do if you had in charge of Congress on the Democratic side and you had the presidency would be to find some way for the FCC to go after these propaganda arms, tax the shit out of them, curtail what they say and how they say it. If Fox News lies, whether it's opinion or not opinion, find some way of mitigating what they say and do something about their ability to assuage minds and hearts for people that are of low intellect, and
Well,
we with that's a big giant issue. We can't get anywhere in this country until the media is tackled somehow, some way.
one of the things you could do to help police what's going on in media is to bring back the fairness doctrine, the doctrine that Ronald Reagan got rid of. That kept some guardrails on the media. But we're in a different world now with social media and independent media and the internet. We didn't have that back when they got rid of the fairness doctrine. If Donald Trump is no more, one way or another, not no longer president for whatever reason, we know that's going to cause a lot of politicians to be scurrying around because they were covered under Donald Trump's wing while they sided with Donald Trump. With the way things are going with the media, I'm willing to bet we see a dramatic change, a dramatic difference in mainstream media. I mean, we see them cutting back now because their audiences are getting smaller. People aren't trusting the streaming media or the network media anymore. There's really nobody out there you can trust. And you can only do that so long and expect to get an audience. Their audience is going to be a bunch of older people, right? Well, they're fucking dying off. The younger people aren't going to listen to that shit. I have a feeling that we're going to see some massive changes in mainstream news. And once Donald Trump is gone, their dancing monkey is gone. And they've gotten, what do they do then? What do they do then? Do they say all of a sudden, okay, now we're going to be honest? That's not going to work. I think we're going to see some dramatic changes in the media, and people are going to step away from it even more than they already have. And they've stepped away from it quite a bit. I mean, do you ever watch MSNBC?
Not anymore. I haven't since he got elected. I can't I
I
can't I
watch
can't
it.
I can't turn it on. If I turn, oh, I definitely can't turn on Joe and Mika. Now I will
No.
listen to the radio on my way to teach. 4 o'clock, I'll turn it on if on a Friday, but that's it. I will more listen to progressive. I listen a little bit to POTUS on Sirius Radio, and I can't think of any other progressive station. And I got rid of CNN altogether and replaced it with NPR. So I have four news stations on my Sirius Radio. At home, that stuff never comes on. No local news, no regular news. Don't trust them. Don't like them. The only thing I listen to now are podcasts, and I have a group of podcasters that I listen to. You're one. Um, Pod Save America, The Bulwark, Lincoln Project, a couple of the others that are on there. that I listen to, because I can't I I know I'm not going to get too many viewpoints by listening to these, but I don't really care. I have my mind made up. There's enough truth coming because they're all you guys are saying the same thing, and so I kind of think if 7 or 8 different entities are saying the same thing about the state of the country, then that's probably close enough to ground truth for me.
Well, I will listen to two people on MSNBC. I will listen to Nicole Wallace. I like her.
Yes, I like her too.
And I will listen to Lawrence O'Donnell
I like
because
him too.
I think he does everything they don't want him to do. And he says, fuck you, I'm doing it anyway. So I like that. But if you watch Nicole Wallace or any of the other shows during the day, something interesting happens. And maybe I'm the only one that notices it because of my background in commercial radio. But if you watch MSNBC, there'll be times when they take a break and they play the same PSAs over and over and over again, the same promos over and over again. And when people are playing PSAs and promos over and over again, that means they don't have any commercials. And if they don't have any commercials, they ain't making money. So they're taking a hit. They have a lot of time during their daytime parts where they don't have advertising, and that's got to be taking its toll. And probably part of the reason why they're going to spin off MSNBC and call it MS Now or something like that, or
Something like that,
whatever
right?
they're. It'll be interesting to see what they do. The first thing they should do is fire Joe and Mika. Those fucking
Absolutely.
clowns, they need to go.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
Pay Lawrence and Nicole a lot more money, and the other
That's
ones,
right.
Ari's okay. There's some about him I don't like though. Just his smarmy attitude sometimes and throwing in rap lyrics. I don't need to fucking hear that. Just tell me the fucking story. But it's going to be interesting to see. Now, Rachel Maddow just suggested she believes once they spin off, they won't be under the direct arm of the brass at NBC, and they'll be able to do more truthful stuff. Hopefully, that's the case. If they want that spinoff to work, they better fucking do that because if they continue doing what they're doing, nobody will watch them.
Yeah, I think Rachel Maddow has enough money and enough clout that if things don't work out at the network, she should team up with O'Donnell and a few others, maybe Stephen Colbert, and start their own network.
Yeah,
I think it would be extremely successful, and I think they would get plenty of backing from, liberal money interests to compete against everybody else. I think something like that could compete against Fox. To be honest with you, there's a hunger out there for good information from cable and the networks, and it's not being met. That's why people like me are going straight to podcasts. I don't. I can't turn on television news anymore. I just can't. I can't listen to the babble and the stupidity. But so
yeah,
I can
it's
listen
hard.
to it on radio, but that's about it.
Yeah, it is hard to do, but the other aspect that they you have to be concerned about if you're running a network is people are running away from you now because of how they behaved during the election and how they weren't necessarily truthful or they didn't tell us the whole truth. But they got a whole nother issue. The majority of people in this country is no longer going to be Gen X or baby boomers. They're dying off. They're getting too old. They aren't a valuable demographic. Millennials and Gen Zs are going to take over here. They say in the 2028 election, they're going to be the majority of people that are voting. And I'll be honest with you, millennials and Gen Z, they don't sit down and watch network news. They want
No, they
little
don't.
information. That's why they go to TikTok or YouTube or something like that. They consume media in an entirely different way. The whole the whole business model of network news is not going to continue to make it because these people don't want that.
Right, but that's you could format it if you have some smart people, um, and make it interesting for millennials and Gen Z to watch. You don't want to put it on as it is today. You want a whole totally different format. Some combination of the Colbert Show and the Daily Show with these folks, still giving you news, but in a different kind of way. I don't know. Give it the way they do it on Saturday Night Live. I don't know, but be creative of how you now present it to a new generation. The first network to do that will win. It's just that simple. If they're that, because I can't see Fox News doing that. Come get rid of the talking heads, put some comedy in there, put some news in there, put some personalities that can speak to the younger folks as they are now, and you'll do okay. Um, so
Let
it
me
needs to be changed completely, like you said.
let me throw out this idea. If I owned a network right now and I didn't know what the fuck to do, and I knew my my audience is going to be from 40 on down, knowing what I know about their consuming of media online, what if you created a network that kind of emulated a news version of TikTok? I don't mean exactly like TikTok, but I mean
Right.
having a number of people coming up and doing like a 5 minute report or a 10 minute report, and having people, it wouldn't be open to everybody. It'd have to be people that were good enough to be on that. But can you imagine you sat down and you watched basically what it would be if you're watching the FYI page um, or um, on TV? You could sit down for 20 minutes and see a bunch of stories and then move on. That's something that would probably appeal to the younger people. They need that fast movement. Their attention
Exactly.
span is slower. Something like that. I mean, that's why I'm saying. I'm thinking we're going to see TV, mainstream TV, change in a lot of ways in order to appeal to the audience that's going to be the largest out there.
Yeah, I mean, this so I frankly I would take the creative people at the Daily Show, and I'd say, okay, create me a news network that's kind of TikTok like, and maybe it's interactive or something along those lines. There's a lot of brilliant people, and they could make it something totally unusual. Maybe Mike from Rational Boomer comes up for a 5 minute clip, five
Doubt
times a
that.
day, 5 times a day, and then all of a sudden you go to the Lincoln Project, and there's Rick Wilson screaming about this, and then it switched to Josh. I think his name is a young comic, that I love, and he's now on the Daily Show. And then it switches to somebody else, and then there's Rachel Maddow. Maybe she gets a longer 20 minute segment, or she does a quick roundtable with somebody. There's a lot of things that can be done, and it can be done better than the way it is right now. They're still on the old. We need commercials to fund this. I think you could do a subscription service for something like that network, where and once the word gets around, people might pay, $30 a year or something like that to be on there, and it would actually take the place of Substack and some of these others. I don't know.
Well, that's Rachel Maddow. If she got fired, if Lawrence O'Donnell got fired, honest to God, if you took Lawrence O'Donnell, Rachel Maddow, and maybe one other, set up a YouTube account, they'd have millions of followers in a short period of time. They wouldn't make as much money for the show as they did on TV, but they'd get to keep all the money. That's what would
Hey,
be. I mean, it's at that point now where people will go to YouTube and watch people by the hundreds of thousands or millions. Don Lemon's out there. Other people are out there doing this sort of stuff. Um, it's a viable option now. It's not the security that you have working for a network, but that option is there. It's just a matter of getting attention and getting viewers. And these people can do it in some of the applications we have now, not TikTok per se, but certainly YouTube, they could do it. There's more and more people doing some things on Substack. So there are options out there for those people. And if the audience continues to drop off for the mainstream media, they're going to have to fire these people because they can't afford them.
yeah. Do you listen to Pod Save America?
I don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't listen to a lot
So
of podcasts.
it's a
And it's
comic and two other guys. But what I like is, per show, they will do like five different topics, so it's quick and fast. And it might be Trump sending people to Chicago, then switch over to tariffs and switch over to somebody else. And then they bring somebody in to interview. So it's 4 or 5 different things. They tell you at the beginning what they're going to sort of be covered. And so it's a totally different show than, say, the Bulwark or the Lincoln Project or something like that. It's a nice format that's sort of unique to them. So I like them. They don't just stay on one topic and then bitch about it. They move on, and it's usually the news of the day or whatever they is getting coverage out there in the media. So nicely done by those guys. Um,
I'll give it a try because I keep hearing Pod Save America. And I'll be honest with you, the reason I don't listen to the podcast that much is because I don't really have the time. What I'm trying to do is get
yeah,
this
yeah,
story.
yeah,
I try
yeah,
to get
yeah.
the stories. I want them quick. I want you to give me the story and then let me look into it because I'm
Yeah,
trying to figure out what I'm going to say
well,
next.
well, it's like you on TikTok. You're on for 5 minutes, and here's a topic. Boom, you hit that topic, and then you're out of there. Uh, I
Right.
think that's a way to do it, and that's sort of you kind of unique to you, to be honest with you, because you cover that topic in the time you have allotted, in depth with your thoughts of what that topic means to you. And so the first time I saw you, I said, okay, he's great. There's other people that try to emulate you. Ed Champion is a guy that I see a lot on TikTok, but he does a lot of yelling and screaming. He doesn't do much now. So I love the guy, but he doesn't. He's more yelling and screaming. I think he needs to ease off on the caffeine. But I like the way that you do that. It's not a long form kind of kind of podcast. It's this is this topic, then you move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So during the day, you might cover 5 or 6 different things. It's great. It's great. I like the way you do it.
Well, and it largely has to do with the way I like to consume stuff because I'll watch people on TikTok. I watch a lot of TikTok because I want to see a lot
Yeah,
of different things.
yeah, me
And
too.
if I'm watching somebody and says, "Oh, I got this great story about such and such," okay, cool, let's hear the story. But before we do that, make sure you click all the buttons and all that stuff. Okay, fuck that. Just get to the story. And
Exactly.
now I gotta set the story up for 3 minutes. Just tell me the fucking story. And
Yeah, don't
usually
talk.
those people I scroll past.
I've never
I
heard
don't
you
need to do
say
that.
link into my bio or my Substack or any of those things. And you're not, Ed Champion was bitching about, I can't think of it, David Packman the other day because David Packman gets like $8,000 a week from some source. I guess it was in some news thing. Maybe he's yelling and screaming, and I like Packman. He's all right if he's getting paid for what he's doing. Fine, I don't care if Parnas is getting paid. Fine, that doesn't mean they have resources if they get. If you got paid for that, I'd be all right with that. As long as you give
Well,
me decent content.
the thing about it is that that whole story blew up on TikTok, and Democrats were the ones screaming about it. This Wired article comes out that says that some of these left-leaning uh, influencers are getting paid up to $8,000 of dark money. Which you have to understand, first of all, this Taylor Lorenz, she's worked at like 5 different places, and every time she gets fired for not being totally honest, she's out just trying to get clickbait. She gets paid by some dark money too. But then the Democrats come out here and make it a big deal. Hawk goes off on it, and he's going against the liberals and saying they should disclose that. Disclose it, motherfucker. I'm a guy sitting in my living room. What's my requirement to disclose anything?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I said, listen, you want to worry about left-leaning liberals getting paid by dark money? That's a big story to you? I got a bigger story for you. I'm on TikTok. I've been there for 5 years. I do the same thing every day. No difference. Same amount of TikToks, same way I do the TikToks. I have 472,000 followers. 3 months ago, I got paid X amount. The next month, I got paid about three-fourths that. The next month, I got paid about half that. And this month, I got paid about fourth that. The news story is I'm talking about liberal issues, and they're taking money away from me. It's not about the liberals getting money and trying to do the job that, Republicans have been getting millions from Russia for fucking years. So
that's
now you're
right.
going to shame the Democrats? I don't know if it's dark money or not. I don't care. I listen to what I want to listen to. I take what I need from it, and I'll check it out to make sure it's accurate. But the issue isn't about paying liberal influencers. It's about the suppression liberal influencers are suffering on TikTok and some other apps. Don't want to talk about that, but you want
Yeah.
to talk about somebody making a buck. Look, people
Yeah. I
come
was
out
up
here and
to
know how much work this is. Fucking get paid. If you got paid, they didn't call me.
32,000 followers on Blue Sky, right? So I was really, and I did that in a really short time. I got kicked off of Blue Sky.
Why?
Don't know. I have no idea. I was getting pretty popular. I mean, enough popular for somebody that's not a big name, but I mean, within 2 months, it was up to 32,000. And they
But you're
said
not even
something
doing
about,
political stuff, are you?
oh yeah, yeah, I'm taking like, TikTok videos, and then I'm putting my own spin on TikTok videos and articles, and whatever media that I could copy and paste and get it in within 3 minutes. Memes, all that stuff. And and I signed every post with my name. And boom, all of a sudden, hey, we see um, stuff going on with your account. We're gonna suspend your account for these reasons. You can go ahead and put in this and that and the other thing, and say, okay, that's not right. And I did all that, and hasn't come back yet. So okay. I
Wow.
mean, I didn't, I was putting time into it just like you put time into your stuff. I'd look around at things like, oh, this is interesting. Let me make a comment on it, give my opinion, boom, in Blue Sky, and 30. So there we go. Now that account, I don't know if it's dead, suspended, or what. I don't even know where I could go to. I put in, what is it you put in, like a debate, not a debate, but
An appeal.
yeah, an appeal. And I did two appeals. I've heard nothing back from them. I wasn't big enough to really matter that much, but I started getting people supposedly reposting stuff that under my name, right? So mostly it was like garbage stuff, sales, I don't know, lose weight stuff. And all of a sudden it said Tony reposted, and then I'd have to find them and block them and do that. I started getting more and more of that stuff. So I guess they just said, we have suspicious activity in your account, so we are suspending you. And that's as far as I've gotten with it. And I've just left it alone. I don't care enough about it.
I fully expect to, when the changes in the rules happen, they say you can't do this, you can't do that. Now they may want to bend the knee to Donald Trump. I'm not going to. I'm going to continue to do what I do. And if TikTok kicks me off, whatever the fuck. I'm still on Spotify. I'm still on YouTube. I'm on Substack. I was on Blue Sky, but I quit posting on there because I wasn't getting a lot of traction. And it's really a pain for me to upload shit to them. It took
Yeah,
forever.
it's time
It took
consuming.
forever. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's time.
time consuming. I don't
Right.
need to do that. I mean, Substack's a little time consuming too, but I like Substack because I do lives on Substack and I got a small crowd there. I got like 11, 12,000 people, but they're loyal people and they show up when I need them. And I feel a certain obligation to them. I don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. I'm just going to continue to do what I do. And if they decide to kick me off, fuck them. I'll just continue to do YouTube. YouTube is the one place where I don't have any problems at all. So I feel most comfortable there. Spotify too, never have a problem there either.
Yeah,
I put my
yeah.
short stuff and my podcast there.
Yeah, I mean, I felt I was contributing to the discussion, which I think I was. I wouldn't have gained that many followers that quickly if I wasn't.
No,
But I'm too old to fuss about it, and I'm not starting all over again. I'm not going to start a backup account or any of that other stuff. If it comes back, I'll pick up where I left off. If it doesn't come back, I'll just keep listening to you and all the other news and make contributions where and when I can.
well, that's all you can really do. It's hard to say. I think the thing with TikTok right now is they're trying to cut the deal for the United States app or whatever, and they feel like they've got to bend the knee and not to be too out there to Donald Trump. So my question is, if Donald Trump keels over tomorrow, does TikTok change their plan of attack? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Over the last 2 days, I've heard a lot of negative stuff about Donald Trump being dead and people wishing he died painfully and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. So they may have they I don't know what they're doing, but my feed was loaded with nothing but negative stuff against Trump over the last 2 to 3 days.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just going to continue doing what I do. Let the chips fall where they may, and we'll decide whatever they do. I do have another
Yeah,
TikTok account though, where I don't really talk about politics, so I can come in the back door if I fucking have to. I
yeah.
have, I don't know, maybe 13,000 followers there. It's not a big crowd, but it doesn't matter. I don't really care how many people are watching. If there's an audience, I feel obligated to do what I do.
Yeah, nice to be this age, you know. I mean, when I turned 70, it seemed like there was even less stress
Oh
than there
yeah,
ever has been in my life. So I just said, screw it. You know, I can't worry about that stuff. I got dogs, wife, grandchildren, all the things, and just enough of an income coming in that I'm comfortable without being able to buy big ticket items that I would want, like a sports car and all that kind of stuff. Comfortable enough to be able to
yeah,
go to the grocery store and spend what I need to spend at the grocery store, you know. And then I just continue to be interested in politics. My son, who's an English teacher, has come over to the bright side, and now
good.
he sees what I see. My other son, who's going to move back in with us, he's in the army, and he wants to get out and go to college and be a doctor. He needs some work. You know, he didn't vote in this last election, but to me, he kind of represents where Gen Z is right now. I'm not going to say they're non-political, but they're in a don't give a shit attitude, and we need them. Like you said, they're going to be a big voting block, and they need, you know, guys like him have to find their footing politically so that they make proper decisions. It's their lives. They're gonna inherit all the debt that's just been placed on them. It's not on us. It's going to be on them. It's going to be
Well,
their
that's my
social security age that gets, you know, boosted up to 70 or 75 before they can collect social security.
Right. Well, and that's my point. You know, we as older guys can fight and do whatever we have to do to make sure, hopefully, that things for our kids and grandkids are all right. But there's going to come a point when they have to take responsibility for themselves. They have to take control of themselves. Because when all the bad shit happens, you and I are going to be dead and they're going to have to live with it. They need to be made to realize that and realize that they got to do something now. I got to tell you, there's something that upset. You know, if someone told me they're a Trumplefuck, I would say, okay, you believe that, you're stupid, all that stuff. The people that annoy me the most are the people that say, well, I don't really care. I don't like watching the news because I don't like bad news stories. I don't want to get involved in it. Those are the motherfuckers that are really causing a problem in this country. If
That's
you
a
took the
fact.
time to take a look at what's going on and know what price you may have to pay, you would think differently, but you're just being lazy at this point.
And, you know, this is not a hard decision.
No.
All you need to know is the GOP is bad. It's bad for the middle class on down. Bad. That's it. That's
Yeah.
all you don't need anything else. Never vote for the GOP ever, ever. If you did that, then you have a choice of who you can elect on the other side, whether the Green Party or the Democrats or some other party. But you vote GOP, bad. If everybody just had that mindset and understood that, they wouldn't need any other information. The GOP has never been on the side of workers. It has never been on the side of the middle class. It has never been on the side of average people. Not ever. In my entire lifetime, from the 60s on, and I would say even earlier, they are not the party of Lincoln. They're the party of George Wallace, even though he was a Democrat. But they are that. They will use any means to attain and achieve power for themselves and for their sponsors. So if you understand that, that's all you need to know about politics. Don't ever vote GOP ever.
Well, and I think that's the frustrating thing about it. It's all so obvious. It's right there in front of your face. If you just take a look, use some critical thinking, it's not a hard choice. But for whatever reason, there are people out there that can't make the right choice. I like to say they're evil or they're stupid. And because I'm a positive guy, I'm just going to have to say they're stupid. I can't say they're evil, but something's wrong there, and they're not grasping what's truly going on. They're listening to the wrong things and not looking at the facts. And That's why things are fucked up currently.
Yeah, I mean, even if you are a Christian and you are anti-abortion, I get it. You might not want to vote for Democrats, but as you look at your own children and you look at your grandchildren, you can see that things are going to go against them. They're going to inherit all this debt. They're going to probably not be able to access health care, or if the health care they get, it's going to be for-profit health care. If nothing else, stop being selfish. And if you want to change policy, then vote for the proper Democrat to come in and change policy. But but
Absolutely.
but this is so simple, and it's been simple for me my entire life. The only people I used to give a break to are businessmen who have businesses that want tax breaks. They don't want their money going to anybody else. They want tax breaks for and less regulation for their businesses. Those people I actually can understand why they would vote for the GOP. Selfish reason for doing it because they have children and grandchildren as well. But I get it. GOP policies are probably more pro-business than Democratic policy, and they don't take money from. But at the same token, your small business is going to be affected by the bigger businesses that want to replace you with the big Walmarts and the rest of them. So you're kind of
And the
cutting your
problem,
own throat, right?
the problem who votes, people who vote for them don't have a lot of money. They work for these big companies at low-level jobs, making low-level money, having their health care taken away, and they still vote for the dumb fucks. For the life of me, I don't get it, and I don't know how you fix those people. You can't fix stupid, apparently.
Well, you can't help
Well,
it because again, the propaganda arm is controlled
yeah,
by wealthy interests. It's just that simple. They're low, they're
absolutely.
low, they're low intellect, and they stay within their own media silos. And until you can break them out of that, you break some information into those silos, we're just not going to get them back. And it's disgusting.
Absolutely. Well, Tony, I'm going to wrap things up for the
Yes,
Rational Board
sir.
podcast. Thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
joining me. I
It was my
appreciate it.
pleasure.
In spite of all the snafus we had beforehand, it looks like we were able to get it done. So I'm glad of that. Hopefully, we'll fix it and it won't be as big a mess next time. But this worked out, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, listen. We managed to have a far-ranging discussion of the news of the day. It was, as always, it worked out pretty well. I used to take notes and make notes. I've given that up. I never see you with notes, so
Yeah.
it's just the two old guys sitting and talking. I mean, it was wonderful. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, when you put two old geniuses together, magic will happen. And damned if it didn't. Um,
Well, I appreciate it. And the audience, thank you so much for listening in.
For those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.